that an opportunity is just that. It's an opportunity. It is also not always a golden goose, golden egg moment. That whatever, you are able to acquire, there's a lesson, and it's like, I feel like I'm going to reference Zelda, the game. Like, if you played Zelda, or if you don't know it, look it up. But, when you played Zelda, you go around and you find these little hidden trinkets and things, and under the rock and in the key and in the door and this. And it's like all of these little moments that you're collecting, and you're literally learning something every time an opportunity presents itself.
This is Shana.
And Kris.
And we are Bad Queers. If you came out of the closet and got put in a box of stereotypes you don't belong to, then welcome to the Bad Queers Club.
All right. This week in Queer Urban Dictionary, I have joyfriend. Joyfriend is a term used to describe a non-binary person in a romantic relationship. The term was created as a gender-neutral way to describe a non-binary significant other. However, those who are non-binary do not have to use this term. Joyfriend.
All right. My Queer Urban Dictionary word of the week is second queer adolescence. This is the idea that queer people live their teenage years twice. First, living out their identities they were told they embody, and then a second time as their true queer selves. My sentence is, after coming out later in life, Alex felt like they were experiencing a second queer adolescence through their identity, style, and relationships. All right. This week we have company, and I am so excited about the company that we have. This week, let's say hello and a big welcome to Mila Jam, pop recording artist, activist, artivist, senior advisor for business platform Out Leadership, and trans superstar Mila Jam, a force. Known for her LGBTQ activism, original pop music, and hit single It's Raining Them, which you can find on Spotify. She has toured internationally with Broadway's Rent, 90s house superstar D-Light, UK EDM pop singer Becky Hill, and her own music catalog. She's the first openly Black trans woman to voice an openly Black trans character in a major studio multiplayer video game, Concord on Sony. She sang the Black National Anthem for the Democratic National Convention this year. She headlined Boston Pride this year, and she has also headlined BCEFA's Broadway Bears and I Put a Spell on You fundraisers. She has performed alongside Chaka Khan, Mark Ronson, Tom Ellis, Angelica Ross, Ultra Nate, Todrick Hall, Bob the Drag Queen, Laverne Cox, MG Rodriguez, Anthony Rapp, Monet Exchange, and more. Some of her appearances include Saturday Night Live, the Cadillac commercial, FX's Pose, BBC's The Lily Allen Show, and MTV. And special features in Ebony, Billboard, Paper, Logo, New Now Next, Out Magazine, Them, and The Fluid Project.
All right. Excited about today's episode. We have company. Mila, thanks for joining the show.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here, and thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So for our listeners to get to know you, tell us where you grew up and just your upbringing and childhood experiences.
Okay, wow, that's a good one. I grew up in outer space, from the stars, and I was a shooting star, and I just came down to Earth for a limited time. No, I'm
limited.
from a limited time. Yeah, while she's here.
All the way out.
Right.
Okay. But where I landed was in the Bible Belt, in the Southern Baptist Bible Belt of Georgia. I was raised in Georgia, Columbus, Georgia, actually, to be specific. Outside of Atlanta, Georgia is where I grew up. And I've always just been an artistic, creative, outspoken, bold kid. And I knew I wanted to be in the arts, and I knew I wanted to just travel the world and get outside of that bubble. And I told my family when I turned 18 and I was ready to leave, I'm going to New York. And so my life trajectory has basically been trying to escape small-mindedness and moving to higher ground and to elevated places of evolution. And so far, New York has been really good. and now and that's where I currently reside. And that was years in the making. But I love it. I am so happy to be a New Yorker, and I am also considering if I should be going somewhere else.
Mm. How did growing up in Columbus, Georgia, shape you currently? Like, I know we all grew up in Virginia, me and Shana, so we know definitely the Baptist Bible upbringing. But how did it shape you as you reflect back?
Yeah, it really forced me to own the whys of my uniqueness, my gifts, my beauty, my talents, all of those things that were not considered as such growing up. And one of the strongest things that resonates about my childhood is that it's funny. And as a Black child, and I think this is a Blackness thing, we often get by with our talents and with things that we can do for other people or how we may make them feel. That validates us. And so I feel like my survival was based off of being validated by the fact that I was talented. I was a performer. I was a kid who was dancing and singing my way through discrimination to be able to just have autonomy over who I am, because people didn't understand. And I grew up in a time in the 90s where it was just like everything was sissy and gay.
Yeah.
And there was no understanding of gender. There was no understanding of transness. There was no understanding of being different, like on the level that we have now. And it was just like survival of, okay, I know I'm different, but I know that I'm worth more than just people seeing me as different, and the journey to finding that out. Because I feel like I had a lot of peers who just live in that and lived in that, and they were just okay with accepting that. And I just felt like there was always better. Don't ask me how, because this is when the internet was created.
Right.
And this is when you still thought you were the only person feeling
in the
world.
Way
you felt. This was like before dial up. And you're like, I think that there are other people out there. And I love knowing that with the queer community and growing up as a kid who identified queerness, the books that you had to just discover, the magazines you had to discover to like learn that you weren't alone, that gave me strength. So it shaped me in a lot of ways. And theater, absolutely theater. I'm a theater kid. And I think the safest place for kids who are different, not even just based off of their gender or sexuality, for kids who are different, is like one of the safest places to be is the theater, because it just teaches you so much about how different we all are. And that's okay.
Love that.
Mm-hmm. I think theater is having its moment right now with Wicked and with all of the moments that are happening, but also helping folks to remember what those experiences were like. In my university, our theater program was the second biggest program. And I tell Kris this because I didn't come out until after college, but that would have been my time to actually come out and embrace the space, because that's what we were doing. All of our fundraisers were drag showcases, and folks, their alter egos were always in these drag personas, and the stories that we always told, or whenever they had projects and they had to write their own scripts and narratives, that was always what it was. And so I just always think about how much I missed out on those moments because I was immersed in that space. So when you're going through that journey of self-discovery and identifying that around you is definitely different. You mentioned performing arts. You mentioned how you were able to lean into yourself. Was there a specific experience or realization in your youth that allowed you to help lay the path for you to discover your truth?
I will say every encounter that I had that was against my otherness, my transness, my womanhood that wasn't obvious at the time, those traumatic experiences were literally the ways that I had to change that, and like the alchemy that I had to create to make that positive. So like being in the church, being close to a lot of the people in the church, and them literally telling me that I am not okay, and that I am all of the things but a child of God, as we like to say. And those people affecting my desire to prove them wrong and to speak up and to say something about it. Like even down to my relationships in the church that I grew up in, that like I would elaborate a little bit more if we had all night to talk about it. But like romantic relationships with individuals, from my church that were not okay relationships, that were not acceptable relationships. They taught me that there are a lot of people who are hiding behind like the Wizard of Oz kind of like, mask. They're masking all of these things that they feel. And those experiences were also like me just, I don't know, me wanting more for myself. Like I feel like as a queer kid and in the theater, I had so many desires to just want more for myself. I could have just decided to be like what everyone else wanted me to be and that live in that trauma. And I think that there are so many people who do that. As like the whole point of life is to climb out of the thing. It's like, the little bird falling out of the nest to learn how to fly. Like you just stay in that nest, you'll never grow your wings and you'll never use them. And then you don't find your purpose. So like those things pushed me to like out of the nest to fly and to become, bigger than that. And they were so painful, all like horrible. Like they're like I have a little bit of a disassociation when it comes to stuff like that because I just don't live in that space. I can't dwell in those moments of, homophobia, transphobia, being bullied, being kicked, being picked on, being attacked, being violently attacked, being abused emotionally, physically, verbally. Luckily, I didn't have any like physical abuse from my family. There was some slight verbal abuse, but it was never to the point where I needed to run away. It was just ignorance and confusion. And like people around me, like I said earlier, when you're someone who has something to offer, like your talent, like you can sing or you can dance or you can pop and lock, people use that as your reason to be like, you're valid and that's your worth. And so that became my worth. I was the kid that was always doing the talent shows, winning the talent shows, singing, dancing, performing. And that was my safety. It's like we perform for our safety. And I feel like we continue to do that a lot as an artist, as a performer, as someone who's passionate about my craft. I do see that that is still something that we do a lot in the Black community to make ourselves feel worthy and to feel safe.
When you moved up to New York, what was the biggest like rude awakening? And when did you feel like, okay, I could do this? I'm a New Yorker through and through and like feeling comfortable in New York.
The biggest awakening, it wasn't rude, but it was just like, yes, trans women are amazing and exist and have lives and have shows and are doing their thing and just being and just, it's like, it is like going to Oz. Like you're like, oh my God, it's like going to the Emerald City. You're seeing all of these things in real time. You've only heard, you've only been like speculating on things and you see it in real life. And it's liberating. Obviously it can be overwhelming and scary, but I love being liberated and I love that challenge of like questioning something and going for it. Right. And I knew that once I got to New York, and I was also fortunate because before I moved here officially at a young age, I had at an even younger age the opportunity to come and see it. And I came to New York on a dance trip as a dancer. And that's where it all begins. All the dancers of New York City and all the actors, we all get that one little, trip that a scholarship trip or something. And you come in and you see Broadway and you see lights and you see this and you see that, and it inspires you. So I got my inspiration. And I was 18 when I moved to New York. I was like, I am not looking back. And I found community right away. I was lucky to come here for school. So I went to school, I went to theater school, and I met a lot of friends. And, you find your community. That's what it's all about. I think we find community and that helps us, elevate.
Absolutely. Community is the number one thing that we should be leaning into, especially when moving into new spaces and how we're able to just lift ourselves up. When you first got to see it's almost like you were able to kind of see the future by being able to see these examples of folks just living their best lives, existing,
Mm-hmm.
doing their own thing. What was the first thing that you wanted to do after being able to kind of like see what you could be?
I think for me, I've always just wanted to make my mark. And I knew that I've always known that I'm good at what I do and I can make an impact doing it. What is the most efficient way to get there? And one thing I think of, the school that I went to, one of the themes that they would always say is, you know, a lot of people will find work as artists, actors, performers, but not everyone is going to be a star or the star. And I'm like, well, I'm a star. I'm gonna be a star. I'm a star. I'm the star. And that journey was another thing where it was processing the work you do to be a star, become a star. Honestly, being a star, I think, in my opinion, are two things. It's a knowing and a feeling, and it's a financial opportunity that someone can afford you to give you opportunities to like have resources to get there. It's like the access, right? You can feel it and know it and believe it, but then there's the access part. And that is one thing that people may juggle is like, what is the access to stardom? That phone call, that opportunity, that show, that, audition you get, whatever. And it opens doors for you. So I was just really excited about discovering those things. And at the same time, I got to delve deep into being, in the gay community, in the queer community, and finding like what it's like to go out, to go to the club, to have friends, to do the things, But I'm a little bit of a unicorn because like I'm not a partier. I didn't fall into the typical, experiences that a lot of people in the queer community go through growing up. Like, let's say 18 to 25, and when you're in the gay community, queer community, you go to the club, you go on out with friends. It is so saturated with drugs, with alcohol, with a lot of, things that are just going to get in your way. I was very disciplined and still to this day. And I was very smart that I'm like, I'm not going to get caught up in stuff like that because I have a dream and I have things that I want to accomplish. And I think those are distractions that can be really deadly. So it was a lot of dipping and dodging through schooling. I got through school. It was like a 2-year program. It was very simple. It was very quick and fast. I booked like a kids tour. I went on the road. I learned some things the hard way where you do like one of those kids shows that would have 8 people and they make you drive a van and put the set up yourself. And it's not glamorous at all. And then like, I remember, getting some really major auditions and then not getting the parts and then landing Rent, for example. And I toured with Rent for almost 6 years off and on, which was life-changing for me, the national tour, international tour. And that really was like, okay, these are my like formative adult years. And I'm traveling the world and I'm, doing my craft. And I'm like thinking, now I'm at that place in my career where I feel like, okay, I'm one of those people who are working, but I'm a star and I don't see the star results yet. And that's kind of when I was like, I don't want to do this right now. I'm going to focus on creating persona, myself, my brand, who I want to be, who I want people to see me as. That's when I started doing shows and performing cabaret shows and doing my one-woman shows. And this was all amidst transitioning and just learning to like embrace knowing that like I was a woman, and like giving no fucks about that. And the road to that was very scary, but I had the reassurance that like some of the people I looked up to, some of the trans women in the community, I was like, if she can do it, wow, I think that I can do it too. And then there were positive reinforcements of that because growing up, with trans women specifically, a lot of trans women are in sex work, which is work, but it's also something that you're like, okay, is this my calling? Is this what I'm supposed to do? Is this how I'm supposed to make a living for my life? What is the best choice for me? And making a decision and deciding like, do I need to do this to get by? Or can I find other avenues to get by? And sometimes that is survival and that's the people don't have options. But then I had options. So I was like, okay, and then I was like, I'm just going to like completely manifest. I know I'm a musician and I'm an artist and I have something to say. And I'm just going to do that. And I've just been honing that and working on that for years.
I mean, 20 years to be exact that you've been out here.
I know. I was going to
Legit.
say,
Okay.
listen,
Okay.
there's some eras too. I was
Not
going to
new to
say
this.
early internet, social media era to
I
where we are
know.
now. Like you've seen and experienced a lot. I know you mentioned alcohol and drugs, which is very big, obviously big part in our community, unfortunately. But what are some other, like, what is the biggest lesson you've learned about navigating the industry in these nearly 2 decades that often does sideline queer talent?
That an opportunity is just that. It's an opportunity. It is also not always a golden goose, golden egg moment. That whatever, you are able to acquire, there's a lesson, and it's like, I feel like I'm going to reference Zelda, the game. Like, if you played Zelda, or if you don't know it, look it up. But, when you played Zelda, you go around and you find these little hidden trinkets and things, and under the rock and in the key and in the door and this. And it's like all of these little moments that you're collecting, and you're literally learning something every time an opportunity presents itself. It's like that big opportunity that you might want, it ain't the last one. It's a stepping stone, and that everything is just a stepping stone. And it's really up to you if you want it to be a continuous stepping stone. That's like something that people don't realize. Moving to New York is a stepping stone, but staying in New York, that's a lot of stepping stones, and maintaining a life in New York is a lot of stepping stones. But people sometimes don't quite make that. They turn around, they go, it doesn't work for me. I can't sustain it. So in the 20 years, it is those opportunities, big and small, that are all learning how, like, they're just stepping stones. And there's a constant idea or version of what success looks like that I have to always evaluate. Thinking of like how you make it, right? And I think that is another thing we think of as people of color, is like, what is making it look like for us or for me? And I'm sort of remolding that for myself in this era. Like, I'm like, kind of like, I'm like, I have done a lot. I'm aware of what I have done. I am in no way done doing what I love to do, but I am evaluating how my worth is greater than like my productivity. And I think that is something where that's where we all are,
That is a word. That is a word I am also currently reevaluating.
I think we all, listen,
Yeah,
we're at the end of a year that a lot has transpired, pun intended. And there's so much that we can learn from the stuff that just didn't go right or go the way we wanted. Yeah. And I'm no longer in the space of fighting that. Like, I think that's a lesson you learn when, as someone made a reference to like dating. This girl was like, when I was dating in my 20s, I had fun because I was stupid. And I just fell for everything. And I just went with everything anyone gave me. And that is what you do in your 20s. You just be going along with everything. And then you get out of that and you're like, oh, I should have like reevaluated why I didn't need to do that. And then in your 30s, you learn those lessons,
You look back like, ooh, wee. But there's some good in reflecting in that way. So, even with everything that has transpired this year, I wanted to switch to the elections and just your post-election thoughts as we now are about to close out this year. Are you feeling different than you did after election day? Like, what are your current feelings and thoughts?
All right, I will say this, and I'll be very direct and very blunt without being a conspiracy theorist. I know this, a little disclaimer. I do not accept the current president-elect, and I do not think that this person will take office, even though this person is scheduled to take office. I am still fully invested in what a lot of clairvoyants and what a lot of healers have been channeling. And we are moving into the divine feminine, and the divine feminine is shifting, tremendously shifting the way we are operating in this world, in America specifically right now. Things are going to change, and I don't think they're going to stay the same. We're in the middle of what that transition is going to look like. We don't, We don't really fully see it yet. We're not on the other side. I know who I voted for. I know what I was standing behind. And I truly believe that there were a lot of positive energies that were on the same side that I was on.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of negative, toxic, condescending, like not clearly thought, cheatery energy from the other side. And it's going to come to light. What happens in the dark always comes to the light. So I'm on that tip.
Yeah.
I am just sitting and I am just perched and I'm rooted and I'm about to get more popcorn to see what actually happens. Because at the end of the day, no matter who takes office, we still will be doing community. We still will be doing us. We still will be focusing on what we need.
Yeah. Over the break, I was looking at how things kind of landed with the popular vote and everything. And I'm like, she didn't get smoked. And I have my thoughts as well.
Yeah.
Like, all right.
And votes are missing.
Votes are missing. She did not get smoked.
Votes got up and walked away. Like, where did the votes go?
Yeah. Very interesting year we're in store for in 2025. But okay.
Yes. So I don't fully believe that I don't think we're going to have the person who's currently president-elect. I'm not even saying their name at this point. I don't think that is what we're going to see. Now, how that all plays out, I can't say. I am not a clairvoyant. I am very spiritual and I'm very connected. Yes, I am. I'm a Pisces, so I'm very intuitive and I feel energy. And the energy says what we see is not what we're going to get.
Okay. So I'll take it.
So hopefully we'll have something new to talk about in a few months.
Right.
A couple of months. Yeah.
Hey, we gonna see. All right. So let's talk DNC because we are in the politics era. We're doing the girly things. That is how Mila and I got to meet. We were at popular bar in Chicago called Sidetrack. We were there talking about being queers in tech and all of the wonderful thing. Also, your energy and your aura just amazing when I met, because it was like I saw you across the room and I was just like, I have to speak to her. I was like, I know exactly who she is. I am a big fan. I must speak to her. But you were enjoying drinks and doing the thing. So I'm glad that we did end up speaking. But not only did we get to end up talking at that event, you also got to perform at the DNC. So with all of the things that are happening around there, how did that moment come about for you?
So this unique story is a good friend of mine is actually the producer he was a producer for the division of performances, organizing all of the breakfasts and events for the California delegates. And we were having brunch like 2-ish weeks before all of this went down. And he's a travel agent by day and he does events by night. And we were having brunch and I was just, I don't know, I was having this energy where I wanted one of my songs that I actually wrote. It's called Too High. And I actually play a woman president. I'm the woman president in the video. And I was like, how can I get my song affiliated with Kamala Harris's campaign? And so me just throwing out like, hey, what do you do? He was like, I'm working on the Democratic National Convention. And I was like, that's so amazing. Could I maybe like submit some music to it and like have one of my songs played, or whatever. And he was like, oh no, there may be some clearance things and whatever. And we're just eating. And then he was like, well, would you want to perform? And I was like, yes, absolutely. Like, what do we need to do? And then that moment he was like, what I need you to do is right now is give me a video of you performing something like the national anthem, anything that's in that world. And then I need you to send me headshot. I need you to send me bio. I need you to send me this, and this, and this. And he's like, my team and I have already solidified like 99.9% of everything that's going to be happening because they comb through everything. He's like, but I don't have performers for the like national anthem, the Black national, all of that stuff. And I was like, okay. So he's like, I will send it out as soon as, you send it over to me. And like, I'm already at the diner being like, okay, I'm going to send you this. I'm going to send you that. And I'm like airdropping stuff. That was on a Friday, I believe, or a Saturday morning. And by Monday of the start of the next week, he was like, I talked to my team. They love the idea. And it was like a preliminary yes. Then it was a no because they only had so much room And obviously, when you do some things like this, there's not always like a budget provided. So it's a little bit, you know, it's volunteer based. It's like you got to kind of get yourself there. And there was this big opportunity to sing. And I was just like, I have to do this. And then I was like, oh, I can't do this because they're not off. I can't. I'm like, how am I going to get there? What am I going to do? So I literally talked to everyone close to me about it. And I was like, I am not in the position to just fund this for myself. But if this is meant to be and divine intervention, it will happen. Well, I told them no, and I turned it down. And do you know, like 2 days later, they came back to me and said, get here, we will cover everything else.
Oh, that's amazing.
And I stayed for a week and I performed the Black National Anthem, and I got to sing in front of Speaker Pelosi, and Pete Buttigieg was there, and, you know, Maxine Waters, all of that. Like, it was all of the delegates from California and, you know, the president-elect's home state. Like, it really amazing. And if I'm not mistaken, I'm the first Black trans woman to ever do that, like to openly sing at like a Democratic convention.
Yeah, I think you're the first like trans person, period. As
Like,
well. So
like, and it's on CNN. Like, you can search it, you can look it up. Like, so there are a lot of layers to it. And my friend Vincent, who was the producer who got me involved, I'm so thankful and grateful for him looking out for me and literally extending me like the opportunity. And that just goes to what I was saying earlier about opportunities and stepping stones. And it was just, I think, an amazing stepping stone to do something. This year has been really about big firsts for me personally, a lot of big firsts. So I'm glad I met you. I'm glad that I got to be there. I'm glad that I had the time of my life. I don't know about you, but I had a good time.
it was a great time.
It was a great time.
I didn't realize it was just a week of parties.
Amazing.
All the parties, there was not an empty seat at the United Center. Like, it was packed. Okay. At one point I was literally in the broom closet in the nosebleeds of the top of the stadium because there were no seats left. I saw Michelle Obama speak, Barack. I saw, like, oh my God. And then remember when they were thinking and speculating that Beyonce would be there? And we were like,
me.
They
did not get me. Did not get me.
They got me. They got
me. Sitting at home at the stream, like, okay, I know the balloons were released, but maybe they're gonna clear it, and then she's gonna go, come on out. She's like a fool owl, okay, a whole fool watching the stream and just thinking, yeah, maybe.
All my friends were like yelling at me, like, she's coming out. She's 100% coming out. They've seen her, all of the things. I had people who were like, I know somebody who saw her background singers behind the scenes. Like, I all
heard
of
the
this.
Same thing.
The rumors were strong. Strong. And I was like, there is no way. There's absolutely no way. And then Dr. Yvette Noel Sure came on, posted her little thing that said, guess like, who's at home?
False news.
Okay. Guess who's at home? And I texted so many of my friends with the quickness, like, don't you ever question whether or not I am going to know if Beyonce is going to be in a place or not as a gold member of the Beehive. Like, don't play with me.
Don't play.
Got him.
Mila, you have had some amazing performances and collaborations, but if there was one you could go back in your entire career and relive, what would it be?
Okay, I have it perfect. The one that comes to mind, there may be others, but performing with Chaka Khan. And I have to tell this story because it's so unique. Like, and I shout out to my manager, my momager, Nick Larson, we'll call him Nico. My manager, Nico, is amazing. He really bats for me, and you got to find someone who's really in your corner. When I got booked to do Chicago Pride, Chaka Khan is on the roster. And I remember him being like, you gonna sing with Chaka Khan. And I was like, I love your enthusiasm. I love you. Really, you're excited. I love you better. I think you better.
You're good at your job.
I was like, you are feeling it. And I'll never forget that day of the show. He calls me, he texts me. He's like, Boo, we call each other Boo. He's like, Boo, oh my God, you're singing with Chaka Khan. I'm like, I'm sorry. He's like, you better get ready. You better go warm up or do something because you're singing with Chaka Khan. I was like, no way. He's like, sound check is at boop, boop, and they will be having you come boop, boop, boop. And I was like, oh, I had to call my family and freak out. I was like, I'm going to be singing. Like, no. The thing I learned, and I wish that I knew this, she doesn't do sound check. So I go to the sound check and I literally wait for an hour for her team, her musicians, her backup singers to show up. They show up and I'm like, oh, great, people are here. And they're setting up and they're kind of looking at me like, excuse me, can I help you? And I am just beaming. I'm like, I'm bona fide. Like I'm here. I made it. I'm singing with Chaka Khan. Or I'm like, I'm singing with Shaka. And they're like, oh, okay. And then they go about their business. And then so one of the background singers comes up and I go, excuse me. I'm like, I'm singing I'm Every Woman with Chaka Khan. And I don't know like where when you guys rehearse that, can like we go over whatever. And she was like, oh, honey, okay, well, Chaka won't be here, but like you can stand here if you want to. And I was like, oh, okay. And so we never ran it. We never rehearsed it. Mm-hmm. And sure enough, I performed earlier in the day and then I went back to my trailer and then I came back when she was about to do her set and waiting for her to come and didn't know when the song was going to be in the arrangement of the show. Like I was backstage when they called her name. They were like, give it up for Chaka Khan. She's doing song after song after song after song. I'm like, I don't know what to do. And one of her team members was like, when it's time, we'll just come and get you. I was like, okay. So I was like third or fourth song in, there was just like a vamping beat. And in the video, you can see this too. Someone just grabs me and they're just like, you're on. And they hand me a mic. And it's like, I don't know if I'm singing the first verse, the second verse, the chorus. I don't know anything. I'm literally terrified. And I'm just like, I go out there and I presented her because obviously she's an icon. I was like, ah. And then she did the same to me and she just goes, ah. And I'm like, I still don't know what I'm singing, but okay. They did confetti, like 10 cannons of confetti. I couldn't even see. It was 30,000 people. And it was just literally like, I'm every woman. And then I was just like, she points to me and I was like, I can cast a spell. I see what you could do. And I just had to go into it. And then like, if I could do anything over, I'd be like, can we have like one run through of the song? Can we just rehearse it once? Like, I just like, but she was lovely and she's tiny. And it was very fast. It was a blur. There was moments sometimes in between some of the songs that they had like little riffs and runs that they did collectively as a group that I didn't know about. So I felt a little green and I was just like, whoa, 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 yeah. Whoa, 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 whoa. And, and then I finished and she was just like, give it up. And she hugged me and it was just amazing. Like, and it's moments like that where however you feel like your moment that you do something special or like meet a celebrity of your liking, it never goes the way you imagine. It just never does. Just never does.
Listen, saying that performing with Chaka Khan, ... like that's just incredible. Like that's incredible.
But that also sounds right. Like every part of that story sounds exactly, because that's always how I wonder when people do go on and sing collaboratively. I'm like, when do y'all rehearse? Because I feel like half these people don't do that anymore. So
it's also, I think, a generational thing for, I think, like icons like Chaka Khan, Patti LaBelle, like that generation. They're literally like, give me the microphone and we'll do the song. And like, they're not like trying to like figure out the oohs and the ahs. It's like, if you know it or you don't. And that's sometimes I think when we see live performances where people like kind of like flounder or mess up or something, it's because of that. They didn't have any rehearsal. Like, they just had to wing it most of the time.
Wow. Look at that. So you start off Chicago Pride singing Chaka Khan, and now I believe I recently read in your Out magazine interview that there was an album coming out soon that you're putting together. Could you tell us anything about it?
It will be the greatest work I have ever done. It is going to be filled with surprises. And that is really mostly all I can say. And that we're not finished yet, but it is like 90% finished. And I'm going to take my time to make sure that it is done right. This is going to be my first full body of work. It is, for me, it's a lot of pressure because I hold myself in high regard because I've always had a certain like way of thinking about like creating like my like doing my like debut album. You know, and it's like first impressions are everything. It's like you do it the first time and there's nothing ever like the first time. So it is legit been almost 5 years in the making. I'm not gonna lie. We started this process. So time goes by fast, but this process has been very long. And every time I get a little sidetracked or discouraged about it, I have to I have to just reevaluate like the fact that like I'm closer than I was before.
Yeah.
Because it's overwhelming. I wish that it had been done and released a year ago, but that's not, you know, that's not how things work sometimes. And again, I'm looking at it as a stepping stone to bigger and better opportunities. So I'm excited for it. I can't wait for you to see and hear these surprises. They're surprises. That's all I'll say. The excitement comes knowing that there are surprises.
It's like seeing
What is your
and hearing.
normal process with creating an album or just music? Like, do you, with this one being 5 years, is this the longest that you've worked on a project? And like, how does that go with like, do you have a song and then like some time goes past and you're just like, nah, that's not it. And just,
No, it's literally technical. And the technical aspect is like in production, like with films, TV, movies, any of this stuff, music recording. Like the higher up you are, obviously the more access you have to like this is where it's like when you have money, you can, you know, expedite the process, right? So I haven't been able to expedite the process. The two producers that are creating, I'm literally like creating a sound. So like I'm not working with someone there there's two producers that I'm working with, okay? They're super dope, awesome guys. They're from Australia. You know, they're like dance and pop hit makers. They are in the vein of like, you know, a Max Martin or like someone of that caliber, right? Their work is comparable. I would love to do an album that features Max Martin, but I don't have that kind of money. But it's the time that it takes to like, okay, we have a concept for a song, we get the music and the production and we write to it. Then it's the recording process, getting it recorded. Everything that I record has 10 lives. It's like 10 demos. It's like at least, you know, we've recorded it and this is what it sounds like. Okay, change that, change that. I don't like that lyric. Do you like that lyric? We got to let it sit. We got to let it simmer. We step away from it. Okay. 2 weeks ago is when we recorded it. 3 weeks later, we're like, listen to it. A month later, we're like, let's revisit it. How do we still feel the same way about it? No, I don't like this. Change that. Everything is like a month-long process. Mm-hmm. So, and then when you do a project that is like 8+ songs, it's going to be like that with every song. And like I said, we're not expediting it to where we just sat down. I didn't go to, you know, St. Bart's and record an album. I wasn't locked away for like 2 weeks to just be like doom, 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 which I wish that is like, that would be the ideal for me. But because I'm independent and we want it to be the best, production is top tier. I think that's one of the best things I'm proudest of. The other thing I will say is that the album is meant to be a good time and it's meant to be like a mood and a vibe, like a high uplifted vibe. This is not a work of art for me that is going to give you all the different facets of Mila Jam. This is going to give you like, it's going to be a mood. And I think people will really be into the mood of it. I think they're going to really like it. It's going to be uplifting and it's going to be fire. So it is not like we're going to, you know, cut our wrists and sit in the corner vibes. This is not reflective energy. This is like, let's get it, let's do it energy. And I don't know. Yeah. So like, it's just taking a long time. And then people have lives. People get married, people have kids, people do this. And they're like out of commission for like 2 or 3 months. And you have to circle back. Like you've emailed them 20 times. And like, did you get that stem? Yeah. No, can you send it back? Also, my ability to record has shifted a lot, basically, depending on like who I've been working with. And then like, yeah.
Yeah. It's a lot of moving parts.
It's a lot of moving parts. So, and I'm excited to be closer to being finished with it than not. And that I'm proud of the work, and I just want to be able to say like, all right, here you go. Let me just regroup, and whatever happens, happens. Say a couple of Hail Marys. I'm like, oh,
Just let it go. Yeah.
yeah.
We're excited for it.
Very
And the
excited.
surprises.
Mm.
The surprises.
The surprises that we can see and hear.
Y'all, the surprise. I'm literally. I'm not trying to gas this up, and everyone listening and watching this, like, we do not have enough energy, motion, mojo behind independent queer artists, trans artists, specifically Black trans artists. So I need people's energy to be like, what are you waiting on? I'm waiting on Mila Jam's album. I need to hear it. I need to see it. I need that to be the feeling, because again, I don't have a major label gassing me up. I don't have like, I've done a lot of things, been in a lot of spaces, but I'm still working hard to create the reality that I live, and like see that reflected out there in the world. And I need all the support I can get. You know, I need people to go to Spotify and stream the music that I have already. Like every time you're like, I need a Mila Jam album, go listen to one of the old songs and be like, I'm tired of this song, but I'm ready for the new stuff. Because that keeps what I'm doing generating, and it keeps, it looks good, because people want numbers. You know how it is.
Mm-hmm.
People want numbers.
Yeah.
Well, I think that is a perfect level of excitement, and also a great reminder that you do have great music out there and people need to go listen to it. And especially in Spotify rap season, that's what we need to start doing, is just having a takeover of like Black, queer, trans artists that start to show up in our top listens from now on.
Of course.
So yes, all right. Well, before we shift over to Bad Queer Opinions, Kris, checking before, do you have any final questions before we move on?
Mila, I didn't ask you who are your musical inspirations, like growing up and currently?
Number 1, Whitney Houston. Number 2, Brandy. Number 3, Janet Jackson. With all of that being said, I am obsessed with Black soul, pop, R&B artists from the 80s and the 90s. Michael Jackson is obviously a huge influence. And I also love dance and disco music. And I love, like, it's not even about one specific artist, but the energy behind a lot of like the disco music of the 70s, and some of the 80s, Motown, just 90s soul and R&B, you know, 90s girl groups like En Vogue. And yeah, just like that energy. And then also I'm such a like a pop girly, where it's, for me, it's Britney, it's Christina, it's giving, you know, that energy. And I love that performance art. It's very splashy and it's very commercial. And I love Queen Bee, you know. It's been fascinating to see the evolution of Queen Bee. Yeah. And so that's pretty much most of my influence. And there's a couple of obscure artists that I love. There's an artist named Kina. She's from the early 2000s. She was like alternative rock, like vocalist. Blow you out of the water. If you don't know her, look her up. Girl from the Gutter. Unbelievable. I'm a huge Nika Costa fan. I love Nika Costa, all of her, like from Like a Feather all the way up until now. I just got her newest album. And I actually am a very big Kylie Minogue fan. I love Kylie Minogue.
Legend.
I think she has like somewhat mastered the art of being a pop star and a pop icon that people can take or leave, and they love her. And she has great stuff that kind of just transcends. And she's been doing this for like, I feel like her because I've been doing stuff for so long. Sometimes I'm like, but she still finds a way to remain fresh and inspiring, you know?
Relevant. Shout out Kylie Minogue. What an era. Thinking of all the TRL days.
One of her favorite albums of mine. I love the slow album, but I also love, Can't Get You Out of My Head, like all that stuff is really great.
Love
But
at First Sight.
her disco album is one of my favorites. Like I can listen from beginning to end. That was like her 2020 album, I believe. It's just so good. Yeah.
One last question. How would you describe dating in New York?
Awful.
Yep. Quick answer.
It's like it's like one of them hard candies that no one told you was hard, and they just encourage you to bite into it, and you broke your teeth. It's like the grandma candy, and you didn't know it was hard. You thought it was soft, and you were, oh. Okay, well, let's try this again. And I have been doing it for quite some time. And I've learned to choose my peace over arguing, debating, having to like prolong any sense of like someone who doesn't understand my worth. It is a Control Alt Delete ASAP. All right. And I believe in blocking. I don't block that much, but if you need to block somebody. There's a level of ignorance. There's a level of men, and as someone who dates men, primarily, they don't know what they want. They know they want companionship and intimacy and sex, but the way they go about getting it makes no sense. And when you are negotiating all of that stuff in talking stages, which now I'm even over, it's like literally on a silver platter and they still fumble. Like it's a fumble. New York dating is awful and it's just full of fumbles. So I'd be dating when I go out of the country. I'd be like, okay, I'm over here. Let's see what you're doing.
Come on, International Bay.
Yeah.
Hello.
I love this.
New York.
I always love the answers of how dating
I
is in New York,
know.
because we know that the level is in the gutter, but the descriptions of how in the gutter they are, I think your analogy has been one at the top.
Yeah,
it's true,
because that's accurate. So I'm gonna slippery slope into our bad queer opinion, because my bad queer opinion leans in on dating. So what type of bad queers would we be if we didn't have unpopular queer opinions? Mila, as described before, the space is safe until it's not. Feel free to question, comment, ask follow-up questions to any of our bad queer opinions. We're excited to hear yours. I will go ahead and jump it off. My bad queer opinion, we recently, Mila, put out my single episode, so to let people know that I am back out on the market doing things. And it's just unfortunate, because my bad queer opinion is that queer dating apps are just as exhausting, if not more exhausting, than straight dating apps. And I just want better for us. I truly do.
I agree with that.
The amount that we just digitally stare at each other. Don't say anything. Don't question anything. And then when they do, it just jumps over to the deep end of what we would talk about. I think some of the conversations that I've witnessed queer folks have within queer dating apps just jumps immediately. I'm like, why do we always have to launch into trauma before we get to know each other and just like normalcy and seeing that happen? So I'm just, it's exhausting.
Is that a result of like unhealed work? Like, I think that is like a little bit of like the unhealing nature of like a lot of these apps just forcing us to like find connection that's really not rooted in like authentic, like healthy connection. It's just, it's just kind of like, it's like junk food.
Honestly, because they sell it in bulk. And so they're like, here, we're going to feed you all these people. You're going to make more connections. You're going to do great things.
Yeah.
And then maybe you'll find something that you like that works for you in the future, that might actually be healthy, that might, not have all the sugar in there and stuff. But that's what it just feels like. They're force feeding you all of this processed food. And then you have to dig to find like one healthy thing. And I feel like a lot of folks, especially for queer folks, are utilizing dating apps instead of therapy. And y'all gotta stop. That's like a subcategory B of my opinion. Stop trying to use dating apps like it's your therapy session. I don't have time.
It's a good shot.
Thank you.
Well,
we deserve better.
Y'all do. My bad queer opinion was a discussion. I feel like we talked about this before on here, but my cousin over the holiday, my gay cousin, had sent me this very, very important. Um, she sent a picture of these two butch white lesbians that were in a relationship. Both look like they, swap clothes, probably do. And she was just like, why is it really for real such a problem only, like stud for stud in our community? And we were like talking through theories and everything. So I just wanted to bring this discussion here. And I was saying that, growing up around a good amount of white boys, like they could do a lot of gay shit and it'd be fine. And they still see each other as masculine. Whereas like, black boys don't do that or didn't do that growing up. And we unfortunately picked that up from them with the toxic masculinity. So like, it still is just a thing. Like we talk about stud for stud all the time and how weird it is that people are weirded out by stud for stud pairings. But yeah, I just think it's a terrible habit we picked up and all that. Because again, there's no issues over there with that at all. Like I think we sat through, my mom was out here for the last 3 weeks. There had to be like 10 House Hunter episodes with two butch white lesbians that again, clearly swap clothes, fine. And it's cool. It is cool over there. They let them do it. There's no static, but for us, like we still have these debates quarterly about like stud for stud. So I wanted to see if there were any other opinions of why it's a problem in the black community or black, stud for stud in our community as opposed to with white butch lesbians and masks. Like it just isn't a thing.
I can't really speak to it too deeply, but I just think about like when like as someone who is rooted in femme energy and like appearance and all of that stuff, it's always been a constant like attack on like the feminine versus like the butch. And like when I see studs, I from my perspective often see the like many more passes to like be able to be like that's much more acceptable in a lot of black spaces where it's not acceptable to be femme and to be anything other than like butch energy. So I can't really speak to it too deeply, but I think it's just rooted in like our blackness being always policed.
Yeah. Every facet.
Every
facet.
Like just
everything.
being policed constantly, nonstop. And we in return police each other because that's what supremacy does. I have that's my thought.
Yeah. I feel I was in a group conversation with this recently and just witnessing them do anything towards each other where it could be like, oh, let me sit on your lap, let me do this, and how studs reacted so negatively to it. And it's just like, but that's still a woman. It's still a woman and still under the threshold of what you are into. So why does it all of a sudden become super icky for you? And why do you all of a sudden react? And I think there is, I mean, as you were saying with the supremacy, that is exactly what it's rooted in. And I think there is a lot of just like internal questioning. I don't want to say hatred. I feel like that seems extreme, but I do feel like that falls under that umbrella for a bit. But it's almost like studs feel like they're holding up the masculine definition, and if they act in any sort of way, then they're moving away from it and they're like divesting from their people. And and it's like who put that responsibility on you? Who put the boulder on your back that made you think that you had to carry masculinity in this way, and instead think that it's actually more secure in your masculinity to be able to be a stud for stud person. Like that would be the prime definition for me. But a lot of them feel like they have to uphold this narrative, and it's almost, that's where I feel like the heteronormativity falls into our community and then fucks it up for all of us is this, and studs have taken that on in a lot of different ways. So it's almost like they've been, as Mila, you were saying, they've been accepted in this way. So now if they veer off, that's bad. And now they're treated other, and they can't be treated other in that way because they've been accepted in this other way.
Yeah. Thank y'all. That was so eloquently put. I think we got to the bottom of it.
We'll take our dissertation on tour.
It was. That's it. Both of y'all nailed it.
Start dissertations. I love it.
Okay, come on, start dissertation.
Okay, I think it's my turn.
It
Yeah.
is.
Okay. I was thinking about this. My bad queer opinion is I no longer think that trans women need to disclose transness. In the climate we're living in, even though there's a lot of toxic energy, and I have been on record saying how important it is to be safe and disclose your transness to a potential partner, I'm I'm shifting a little bit because there are so many avenues to awareness. This takes the onus off of trans women. And we are in a place where that needs to be eradicated. I believe that men who are dating trans women, or actually, let me reframe that, men who are not actively dating trans women should actively be aware of the fact that trans is a descriptor of a woman. And just like there will be Black women, Asian women, plus size women, short women, whatever, on dating apps, they're going to be trans women. And this separation of like, okay, well, listen, honey, the statistics is that a lot of y'all are interested, and a lot more of you are into the dolls than you'll ever lead on or ever express. So I will always stand by the fact that I need to be safe and I need to be aware of what I'm getting into. But completely leading with this, like, and it's coming from the place of like, I'm not good enough, so I need to give you something to have over me so I could be safe. I just no longer like living in that mindset, because a lot of men use tools of manipulation to be like to control a woman. And I think this wouldn't feel the same for me. I wouldn't be saying this on here. This wouldn't be my opinion if a lot of the conversations I'm consuming on TikTok are of women that are not trans, literally talking about how no matter what they're doing, the men are still not showing up and are not getting it and are not healing and are not doing the work. So that says to me, oh, all this time I'm doing all this work to make them feel okay and feel safe, but I'm not even concerned with the things they need to be respecting about me. Like, if I'm standing in my authenticity and my truth, yes, I'm a trans woman. I know who I am. I don't have to be feeling like a coward, or I don't have to feel less than with that, because I think, and I would say this to anyone out there who is trans, there is such a large community of us. Even if the percentage is low, we have community. And I think we're in a place in our community where we know we exist. We know we're there. We know we have support and love. And on this new frontier of like the ability to be loved and to have relationships, satisfying, healthy relationships, we have to take that back. Like, it's not me just disclosing my transness just so I can get in the door. Like, and that doesn't get you in the door, right? And even when I'm dating, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, but even when I am dating, especially on dating apps, which I'm over, by the way, as well, I will put it in, I have it in my profile. I don't mind, and I have any shame putting it in my profile. I'm also gaslit because I put it in my profile at this point. So the questions have shifted from, oh, like, what does that mean now, to like, oh, well, what can you do for me in the bedroom? And I'm like, sir, like, let me have some sort of like let's have a conversation. Let's get to that place, right? And when you putting trans on your dating profile, a lot of times I think they will see that and they already know how they can talk to you. It's the same thing when we go into a job application and we put Black. They're already talking to us a certain way. You're never approaching me from the fact that I went to Harvard, or that I have an education, or that I have a degree, or that I could do the job, and most of the and I see this too as a trans person that doesn't always get seen as trans. If I'm in spaces where guys don't know I'm trans, they're talking to me without any idea of transness and not treating me like they're treating me like any other woman. And when the bar is so low for all of the other women, I'm like, girl, we all dealing with BS. We all dealing with the bottom of the barrel. I'm just over giving them the handouts and giving them the ability to have control over my own narrative.
Love it. I like that. I like that you
So,
have, it's one of those where it's like, also the fact you're pointing out a solid fact in that, one, when you do disclose, folks really do just feel like that is permission for them to do
to ask and say whatever they want.
Whatever they want. It just takes away like any sort of consent or permission that should be a staple in any type of interaction that you have while dating, which is just wild to me. And I don't know what announcement or news headline or whatever said, oh yeah, that's okay to do. Like it's a frustrating thing. And so many people have done those tests where if they even just testing to see who they get filtered to on dating apps by making a fake profile that's a white woman, but then flipping it back to a black woman and seeing how that changes. Like I can only imagine what that layer does as more identities are added onto someone's profile as well. And that's obviously a problem too, but it's just.
And a bonus note and a bonus thought is that conservatives love trans people. They love trans people. Conservatives are obsessed with us. They're in our DMs. They want us to come over. They want us to hang out. They want to take us out on dates. They want to sleep with us. They would borderline propose to us, basically will propose to us and have a secret ceremony just to fulfill their desire, but take away the rights. Take away the rights.
Won't discuss it, won't support it. Because you've done what you need to do for them. They don't have to return any of that, which is just respect.
It's that way of compartmentalizing those like intersections for me. It's like, that is another thing that I think a lot of like conservative cis people are literally good. That is one thing that they do. I don't know if they do it well, but they do it in a way that's like, they can compartmentalize that, like they like this, they want this, they do this, but they have their whole persona over here. It is a full-on drag performance. You're literally putting on your costume and you go to work and you literally manipulate the lives of like the real everyday lives of people and just harming people and just go to sleep being like, you know, just get off work and go like, well, I'm going to go meet my trans dominatrix, you know, mistress. Listen, I hope you get paid. That's all I can say.
What would y'all see? I feel like I'm always just the outside looking in with the dating apps and things are going down. What would y'all say in a perfect world if there was like I don't know what 0.0 we're at, let's say 3.0 of dating apps? Like, where do y'all see or want dating apps to go to? Like, do you think it should be more of I know there's like the Date Me docs where people literally put like a resume of like a one-pager.
No, get rid of that. Oh no, I know how I feel about it. No, get rid of all of that.
Where would you want it to go?
I'm so ready for this.
For me, these descriptions literally almost mean nothing unless it's really talking about adult activity or sexual desires, because like that at the end of the day was what people's focuses are really on dating apps, because we've been on them for 10, 12, 13 years now, and we're just so exhausted. Someone dating men, every guy has on there looking for relationships, looking for this. Occasionally, oftentimes they're like, I just got out of something. I'm looking for fun. And I'm just like, you know, no strings attached. But most of them have looking for marriage, looking for family, looking for kids. And that is not their behavior at all. That's not their intention.
I'm surprised they put that on there.
It's a front. It's a literal front. It is.
We watch Love is Blind, and they say this, and then they get into it, and then they're like,
it's a laundromat.
Too real now. Can't do
going
it.
A whole show.
Gotta go.
They're like marriage, though.
Yeah, but that also I think is attached to like feeling validated and feeling like they're doing the right thing, but like they haven't made peace with what they really want, and like they know, and men do this with women. They don't say what they really want to us sometimes because they know they'll get rejected. So what do they have to do? They have to lie to us. They have to create a fairy tale. They have to say, oh, you're amazing. I'm going to take you out on a date. I want to bring you flowers. I'm going to do this. I'm going to listen to you. And they get you all worked up, and they let your guard down, and you let them in so that then they can get what they want from you. And then they leave you in the dust. So I would get rid of all these descriptions and stuff. I would also implement that I need like a timing system. Like I need you to come in, say, oh, I saw your profile, I'm interested. Can we make the date happen? Can we figure something out within a certain amount of time? No, it's an unmatch, it's a delete. Like, let's not waste people's time. I wish people were adult enough to say, you were cool, I like your vibe. I don't think we want the same thing. I don't think you want what I want, or vice versa. That takes a lot of work, right? Because people are also just lonely and they just want like someone to hang out with. And everyone's doing this, and I'm trying to get myself out of the headspace of like, go with the flow. Like, it's just a lot of like, yeah, what are you looking for? I hate asking a guy what he's looking for, because 9 times out of 10 he doesn't know, and he just doesn't want to say what he really is looking for, because he doesn't want me to feel like I can read through that.
So no descriptions.
No descriptions.
Time limit.
And a time limit. Like, get on and off. Like, I need you to say, we matched. Cool. I think there is an app that has something to that effect where you have to have a date with that person. If you match, there is one, it's called Skip. I haven't done it. It is a heterocentric app. Its premise is that you only match and get information about a person when you match them, and then a date gets set up automatically, and you have to agree to that date. And if you don't agree to that date and then you don't go on it, they delete that person from your folder.
That's cool. Yeah. These are free tips.
Right.
I feel like I don't know what they're doing with them, but I feel like there has to be some next generation of what dating apps will be and all that.
I think they're fading. I think they're fading.
Think so?
I think
we're going back to just in person.
I think we're getting outside. Yeah.
I think we're going to be outside. I think it's going to be something similar to dating apps, but that's going to be not like the full iteration that we've seen. It's going to be something in between, meeting someone in person, and then like you can, connect with them. But I don't, and then I think something else may totally change it and become a whole nother level. I'm not sure what that would look like, but I think that we just going to be outside maybe.
Yeah. I feel like there's going to be a resurgence of like the speed dating activities, because I've already started to see that go up, where it's like, okay, you're showing up and you have to, and people are doing it at like the big festivals and stuff too, like Sweet Heat Miami, they're doing it at Dinah, they're doing it, like those types of festivals and things, they're hosting those events more often, and more people are, stoplight parties are starting to come back, where you wear the green if you're single, and the yellow if it's complicated, all that. So those are starting to come back. I've already seen those. I've already like witnessed each of these things happening multiple times out in the wild. So I think that's where it is. I also feel like, how much fun could it be where you have like Rover or like those babysitting apps, and you have the people who will rate their services, and it's almost like maybe you have a rating system within these dating apps to say that like, oh no, this person follows up, this person will go on a date with you. It didn't work out for us, but here we are. And like other folks where it's like, no, this person just swipes and doesn't say anything, it doesn't match. And so it's like, then you get moved down for the folks who aren't active on the app, but then you get moved up for the people who are active and who are doing good things in the app. I feel like that could be a fun twist, a little bit of accountability.
Yeah, it's like yelping daters and all that. Like, they're all right. 2 stars. I like that. I think y'all just created the next generation. It's go outside, but it's go outside, but
let's go outside.
Meet in person, old fashioned. Okay. Oof. Good luck to y'all. Was there ever a good dating era for you in New York? Like, looking back on it, where you were like, okay, that actually wasn't bad, like compared to now.
I will say, I don't want to take over, but I will say that I did date a guy over like within the last 2 years. We dated for about 6 or 7 months, and it was just wonderful. Eventually, he didn't want a serious relationship, but it reset the bar for me. And I met, and he wasn't from here, so that was like a takeaway. Like, he was European. And he just treated me the way I must be treated. And when he took me out on that very first date, he took me to a really nice place. He followed up. He was like, I'd love to see you again. And no matter wherever we went after that for about, and we had some off and on moments, but consistently for about 6 or 7 months, was planning dates left and right, was calling places and getting reservations, was sending me flowers. I mean, I knew him around my birthday, and he brought me flowers for my birthday and champagne and took me out. It was lovely. And he was just a sweet guy. And he did the thing. He did the thing. And it was like, I was really interested in something more with him, or exploring that. And he just kind of was just like, we have a great time, but I don't want to be in a relationship. And that's where you have to decide, like, am I wasting my time still circling with this person, or should I just call it? And I just called it. And I think that was a smart thing to do, but yeah.
Yeah. But it reset the bar, which is good.
The bar is different now.
The bar is different.
I do not tolerate anything less than that. Like, it's like literally like, because he showed up the way he did with kindness and respect, and like, you deserve the best. Absolutely.
Mila, if there is somebody listening that is interested in you, how should they approach you? It's the best way. And what shouldn't they do? Absolutely. like, are you a don't DM me person? Like, I know there's some people who are like, don't slide into my DMs. How?
You know what's funny?
Should they approach you?
I'm not against a DM. I don't mind a sliding DM. It is the follow up and the intention after the DM, because I feel like sometimes people will DM and not follow through. You can't poke the bear. Don't poke the bear. If you're gonna slide in, be like, I'm sliding in. I don't know what your vibe is. I don't know if you're feeling it or not, but if you are, let me know. And yeah. And then also, if that's the case, if you are committed to sliding in the DMs and wanting to make something happen, don't follow up with something casual. Like, just trying to get something casual.
Yeah.
Like, I don't vibe with that either. Because someone did that once, and they were just like in my DMs and presenting themselves. This is me. This is what I do, whatever. And I was like, okay. And they're like, so like, do you want to have fun? And I'm like, but wait, what kind of fun are you talking about?
Right.
Like, does this fun include 4 stars and and a prefix dinner, or like
a little champagne,
champagne? So if anyone's listening and you're interested, I am out there in the internets. If you have the guts, you can send me a message. I will read it. Guts. And if I am interested, I will respond. And if I am not,
there we go. Scene. That's it. That's just a scene, maybe.
If you have the guts, is exactly how we are wrapping this up. So I'm gonna go ahead and move to the end of the show. But we would never leave you without giving shout outs to our faves. My shout out this week goes to the BDSThem Film Festival. It is an evening of queer, trans, non-binary BDSM short films centering QTBIPOC BIPOC performers. They just had their festival in early November. I respectfully ask the BDSThem Film Festival to come to Chicago next, please. Thank you, putting it out there. You can follow and support them in the meantime at BDSThem Film Festival on IG.
All right, my shout out is to Redefining Soft, which is a healing movement for Black queer women and gender nonconforming folks who identify anywhere on the spectrum of masculinity. I saw them. They're actually, when this airs, the event would have already happened, but they're doing an event with Play DC, a little boy date to the museum, which is just, I was like, oh, I would love to go. But follow them on IG at redefining_soft. And just, there's really cool event producers and community organizers that are, creating these really cool inclusive groups. So shout out to Redefining Soft.
Awesome. I'm giving a shout out to a dear friend who has an online presence. They have a store, an online store. They are trans. It is called Boy PKG, BOI PKG. They do lots of trans influenced, and it's all trans owned goods, like cool undergarments and jumper suits and t-shirts. And it is a Black trans run company. They're always sending me things, and they're so supportive. It's just trans mask owner. And I also love the Black Trans Femmes in the Arts organization, BTFA. They are always supporting Black trans femmes who are in performing and doing shows. I've done lots of their events and their fundraisers. So I just love to highlight that they are a staple in the community, and they always do amazing work. They're 5 years in the making, or maybe I think about 5 years or so. But they are an amazing organization run by some amazing Black trans women.
Love it. And Mila, tell the folks where they could find and support you.
You can find me all over the internets. Anything that says the Mila, Mila Jam, Jam. And most likely anything that says Mila Jam. I am the only one. My socials are always at the Mila Jam. Spotify, just look up Mila Jam. Stream those songs. There's so many good songs. Actually, I have a very extensive catalog of music. And if you don't know, I have tons of house records that I've recorded years ago before. I was with a very independent, small label years ago before I broke away from them. We did house music. So lots of stuff under that and my current stuff. And I'm working on my album. And just go wherever you see Mila Jam. So yeah, the Mila Jam.
Love that. Mila, what are 5 songs that you would say are the Mila Jam starter pack? For
the Mila Jam starter pack? Absolutely. You're going to start off with It's Raining Them. You're going to follow up with Too High, one of the classics and one of the most streamed. And I think one of my most loved songs is called Eye on You. One of my favorite songs is called Better Days. And I think the last one I'll say is Pretty One. Pretty One is a huge song about looking in that mirror and loving who you see.
Love it. Y'all go stream Mila, follow, subscribe on YouTube, like, run it up, all of the things.
Run it up. All right. Well, Mila, thank you so much again for coming onto the show and hanging out with us for a bit. It was a great time, and we hope we can have you back in the future. Would love to see it.
Yeah, we have to talk about this album.
Yeah, we gotta talk about
it. Yes. Of course. Thank you all so much for having me.
Thank you. And for everybody else who's tuned in, we appreciate you as always, and we will see you next week.
Take care.
It's me again. Can we talk about things? I'm sorry that I'm